Government says justice is served after its first execution in 17 years for 2 murders.
That even though that's a horrible murder and the person should get life without parole, they shouldn't be executed for that.
I believe in capital punishment. You commit the crime, you should be able to do the time.
The death penalty in the first place. And they get their second choice, which is the death penalty with no death.
I ordered that sentence, and these sentences I impose today also run consecutively.
But as prosecutors, we have an oath to follow, and that is to uphold the law and the Constitution of this state.
But with justice, what it means is that the penalty for this crime is death.
A tragic timeline. On October 11, 1999, Stanley T. Adams entered the home of Esther Cook and her 12-year-old daughter Ashley Dawn Cook in Warren, Ohio. Adams slayed them by beating, knifing, and strangling them. A jury convicted Adams of aggravated slayings, burglary, kidnapping, and 2 counts of physical attack. The jury recommended the ending penalty, and the trial court sentenced Adams to ending. From Christmas 1998 until March 1999, Adams and his girlfriend Janelle Hartle lived with Esther and Ashley on Dickey Avenue in Warren. On October 11, 1999, Adams borrowed a blue 1991 Chevrolet Cavalier from neighbors Mike and Kelly Henry and drove to James Hartle's house to borrow $300 to buy a car. At a drug party, Adams bought crack cocaine with $40 and offered cocaine to her in exchange for oral adultery. Adams left the party alone in search of more money. On October 11, Adams returned to Jackson's apartment with blood all over his hands, shirt, pants, and shoes. Adams left the apartment with Jackson and Norman to get more drugs. While driving, Warren Police Sergeant Robert Masucci pulled Adams over due to the car's headlight.
Government says justice is served after its first execution in 17 years for 2 murders.
It wasn't really fair where a victim statement has all types of procedural restrictions.
I believe in capital punishment. You commit the crime, you should be able to do the time.
Give the victim a presence in the court and the justice system, a voice, a face.
That even though that's a horrible murder and the person should get life without parole, they shouldn't be executed for that.
Dr. Germano concluded that Ashley passed away from strangulation associated with blunt force trauma to the head. DNA analysis on Ashley's swabs tested positive for semen, but no other DNA was found. DNA markers for the secondary DNA contributor in the vaginal swab match Adams, who is Caucasian. The bedroom where Ashley's body was found was in disarray, with blood spatters found on the ceiling, floor, and dresser contents. BCI forensic scientist Wickman found 17 presumptive semen stains on one sheet, and Jennifer Duval found DNA from semen stains in several areas of the same sheet. Adams could not be excluded as a contributor to the DNA in these stains, and his DNA was consistent with DNA in the stains. Pre-trial issues. Adams was arrested for the slayings of Ashley Cook and Esther Cook, aggravated burglary, kidnapping, and 3 counts of physical attack. He initially denied any knowledge of the slayings, but later admitted to stopping at Esther's house and briefly entering the residence. The jury acquitted Adams of anal physical attack but convicted him of all remaining charges and specifications. Count 2, child slaying, was dismissed on motion of the state. Following a penalty phase hearing, the jury recommended the ending penalty for each victim, and Adams was sentenced to ending. Adams presented 17 propositions of law, which were found to merit in Proposition 6. The court set aside Adams' conviction for kidnapping and the findings of guilt relating to the RC 2929.04 specifications charging slaying in the course of a kidnapping. Adams' defense counsel made a tactical judgment to allow his strong claims of innocence to be admitted into evidence, but the record strongly indicates that counsel would have been unsuccessful in attempting to suppress Adams' pre-trial statements. The court found that no misconduct by an actual juror occurred in this case, and over 30 prospective jurors were excused due to pre-trial publicity or knowledge of the case. The trial court in Adams v. Adams has not proven the trial court abused its discretion in denying the motion for a change of venue.
In a capital murder case, they want justice, and the justice is the death penalty.
The death penalty in the first place. and they get their second choice, which is the death penalty with no death.
Essentially, there was an early period where the court really took a hard look at the statutes.
I ordered that sentence, and these sentences I impose today also run consecutively.
But with justice, what it means is that the penalty for this crime is death.
The trial court conducted extensive individual voir dire of prospective jurors to ensure they were not prejudiced by publicity about the case. Adams argues that 6 jurors may have been adversely affected by pre-trial publicity, but Adams did not challenge any of these 6 jurors for cause. The court rejects Adams' claim that his counsel provided ineffective assistance by conducting an incomplete voir dire examination of prospective jurors. The court and counsel conducted an extensive voir dire for 11 days, eliminating those who were biased and would not be fair jurors in a death penalty case. Adams argues that his counsel provided ineffective assistance by failing to challenge his competence to stand trial when a good faith basis existed. The court finds that Adams has not established deficient performance and that the counsel's decision to stipulate to the content of 3 competency evaluations and not cross-examine these experts was grounded on a reasoned tactical judgment. Later events at trial vindicated counsel's decision not to challenge Adams's competence, as Adam made personal requests for witnesses, requesting additional DNA tests, and argued about a polygraph examination. Trial issues. Adams challenges DNA evidence in a trial, claiming it violates his fair trial rights. The trial court ruled that DNA evidence is generally accepted within the scientific community and does not require a preliminary determination of its reliability. Adams argues that it should have excluded DNA evidence due to controversy over statistical estimates. Reliability of methods used for collecting, handling, processing, and testing crime scene samples, and coincidental match probabilities and false error rates. However, the court ruled that DNA evidence is generally accepted and admissible. Adams argues that his separate convictions for kidnapping and physical attack constitute allied offenses of similar import under RC 2941.25 and that no separate animus existed for kidnapping. The court found no separate animus to sustain separate convictions for physical attack and kidnapping, and the conviction for kidnapping in Logan is vacated, and a separate sentence for count 5 is set aside. Adams argues that the trial court erred in referring to Ashley Dawn Cook, age 12, in instructions on count 2 and death penalty specification 7 in counts 1 and 2. Due process requires the state to prove every element of the charge offense, and jury instructions that relieve the state of its burden of persuasion violated defendants' due process rights.
Are frustrated. Their adversaries accuse them of being in an unseemly rush to impose the ultimate penalty.
A second stage in the appellate process, which compares a death sentence to other death sentence cases.
Because that's what the jury did. You start to see an evolving consensus that that's society's belief.
But as prosecutors, we have an oath to follow, and that is to uphold the law and the Constitution of this state.
True. What is true is the fact that they feel that they want justice.
Adams waived this claim by not objecting in a timely manner to any ambiguity in the instruction relating to Ashley's age. Adams also argues that the trial court improperly authorized the use of an electronic restraint, a bandit belt, to produce an electric shock if Adams was disruptive in court. The trial court found no outcome determinative plain error due to the admissibility of these photographs, and Adams failed to demonstrate any prejudice resulting from the admission of these photographs. The trial court adequately protected the fair trial and due process rights of Adams. Penalty issues. Adams urges that his rights were violated by duplicative slaying specifications, which were submitted for the jury to weigh against mitigation evidence. However, the court finds that duplicative ending penalty specifications should be merged when they arise from the same act or indivisible course of conduct. Adams' complaint about duplicative specifications lacks merit as the counsel failed to object and waive the issue. Slaying while committing a felony and during a course of conduct of purposeful slaying are not duplicative. Adams' counsel provided ineffective assistance by not requesting fact-specific mitigation instructions that would elaborate on other factors specified in RC 2929.04. Adams challenged the constitutionality of lethal injection to carry out the ending penalty, but Ohio law no longer authorizes electrocution to carry out the ending penalty. Adams' claim that he was entitled to 12 peremptory challenges is rejected. The trial court's reference to the jury verdict as a recommendation affected the reliability of the jury's verdict. Adams' testimony about his history and background from a psychologist, a psychiatrist, his former girlfriend, and his brother was presented. His IQ is 77, and his personality test suggests significant maladjustment and a personality disorder. His father was a brutal and disturbed personality, and his brother confirmed details about the chaotic upbringing and the abusive father. Adams expressed his innocence and wished the jury not to slay him. The court convicted Adams of slaying as part of a course of conduct involving the purposeful slaying of 2 or more persons, slaying during an aggravated burglary, and slaying during physical attack, both vaginal and fellatio, and slaying a child under 13 years of age. The aggravating circumstances of slaying during a burglary and as a course of conduct outweighed the mitigation presented in this case. The ending penalty for the aggravated slaying of Esther Cook and the ending penalty for the aggravated slaying of Ashley Cook are proportionate when compared with other course of conduct slayings. Rescheduled ending date. Execution date set for man described as Warren serial slayer. The Ohio Supreme Court has granted a motion by the Turnbull County prosecutor to set a date to carry out the sentence of a man who has been on Ohio's ending row since 2001. The Ohio Supreme Court set his execution date for February 16, 2022. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.